So welcome everyone to today's Midnight training session. Today we'll be going over an Midnight 6.3 system, our orders module. Today we'll be covering how to search, edit, copy, and create new orders, associate inventory, and attach links within an order, as well as create versions within orders. While we're in the order, we'll also take a look at some of the reports, such as work order reports and inventory reports. We'll be looking at the administration menu to set up a few drop-down controllers. And we'll take a look at how to record and track issues against orders for job costing. The first place we'll take a look at for our orders training today is in our admin settings. In here, within the estimate and orders list, we have quite a few options that are available for customization. Many of these do appear within estimates and orders. Today we'll be looking at some of each, as well as some of the ones that take a look specifically at orders. To start off, we do have our leftover instructions, which is a command to handle residual or additional produced inventory on a particular job. And this is simply a list of available choices in which you define what to do with your leftover production materials. The list here can be customized by adding new instances in the dark gray row at the bottom, making sure that it is active or not, and clicking save to commit that record to our table. If you need to update one of your records instead, such as by changing the activity status and hiding it, or by changing the phrasing or terminology within the instructions list here on the left, you can click the edit button, modify the text component or the active status of the component, and click the save button to update and commit your change. Alternatively, you can just click the delete button to remove it and hide. This will make it so it will still exist on old jobs, but will no longer exist as an available option to select for newer jobs. Finally, if you happen to be in an admin table with an extensive list of options to pick from, you can use what you see here at the top as a search filter to change what it is that you look for. Or you can click the column header to change the order in which everything on screen is sorted. This is a feature consistent with almost all of our admin menu areas, so I won't be going over this in each specific section, but do note that it is a key feature within the various areas of our admin module. We also have the job progress list. In here, you can decide and designate the available order or job progresses that you can take track of for monitoring your production workflow. This information carries into our dynamic job board, and as it's updated there, it will also change within the order itself. The sort number determines the order in which it's listed within the drop-down menu itself, meaning you don't have to list your options in specifically an alphabetical order to have them appear as such. They can appear in any order that you so choose. Next up is the order status. The order status is different from the job progress in that it relates more closely to the actual status of invoicing or production acceptance, you could say. In this case, you can give your status types a categorization choice within a specific list of what we have listed here. And you can list the order status as a name that corresponds to an actual progress that you have the need for. This can work in tandem with the accounting export feature, so that way you can pick and choose whether or not a job can be considered exportable, and thus make sure your sales reports are also updated. Within the order status, there's also the order version status. This one is primarily a production info and also behaves much more similar to the job progress field, in that as you make your selection, it tends to refer more to the production level on a dynamic job board than anywhere else. And if you make changes on the DJB, those changes are made back to the order. When accommodating for issues, you can define whether or not your produced materials or defective materials identified through your issue and have a status of being kept or discarded. And this list, of course, can be updated. And finally, in here, the Undelete Orders menu allows you to see jobs that have been deleted and will allow you to, upon selecting the active checkbox and clicking the Save and Close button, reopen your order so that way it can be accessed again. Orders that are deleted are not deleted entirely out of Midnight, as there can be a lot of information tied to them: postage info, inventory transactions, DLC or direct labor costs, etc. Other areas of the system that do support deleting will likely have that deleted entirely, such as estimates. But orders, we do make sure to keep those for you. Next up, within our global settings menu, we have a few choices in this company settings page, which are order specific. On the right, we have the accounting integration button. This allows you to pick the program in which you use as an accounting program, and it creates a special code that allows extracted order info to meet the criteria of the import specifications of your accounting program of choice. Clicking it gives you more options to pick from, and I'll go over this more in our accounting integration training. Just note this is the core controller for that. Additionally, the Edit Order Number checkbox, when checked, allows you as the user to modify the order number within the job. While our system normally creates orders with a sequentially generated number, you can edit an order number so that way it includes not only just a number, but also non-alphanumeric characters such as hyphens, colons, or dashes, or even letters such as A, B, or T. This field also does have an administration security control level, which can be adjusted as needed, making it so that only certain individuals have access to change the order number. The display total services and tax on estimates and orders, and display CPM on estimates and orders does pretty much what you'd expect it to. Allows you to see price information on the order screen itself while entering job data. And within the Estimates and Orders tab, we have access to a few key features. Of note, the Auto Update CRM info on copy makes it so that way if you were to copy a closed order or an older order that had since had changes made to its customer, that the customer's changes will be added to the new order. This is useful in the case in which a customer were to relocate or change tax code information, or have a new sales rep take over their account. Since the time that they were previously in the system being utilized, you can use this feature so that way as you update the main customer record, you're always using the most up-to-date customer info on any jobs they've created for them. Other key fields in here include the issue tracking notification for auto emailing. If an issue is added against an order, an email will be sent out to the email or email accounts listed here. This email will include general information regarding the job that had an issue logged against it and details reflecting the issue itself. You can add multiple emails in here by just using a comma and then beginning to type in your next email account. Do not use the open and close caret icons or use a space, as these are incompatible characters and will cause errors as you try to prepare emails. Additionally, we have the display warning message when opening closed orders warning pop out. If you attempt to open a job that has been closed, you'll be given a message that says that the job cannot be adjusted or can be adjusted based on your user account, but should not be. Typically, when that comes up, it means that no users other than an administrator can make changes to a job. Additionally, we have the lock order after export to accounting system. This one outright forbids anybody who is not marked as an administrator to make changes to an order after it has been exported out of Midnight. Finally, we have the copy group billing info on order copy. This feature allows you to copy customized invoicing consolidation methods that you or your team has decided on to utilize in order to make sure that you're copying ahead proper billing effectiveness without needing to worry too much about anything else within the order. I'll be going over this as well as the contract pricing info within a specific training session covering more about those. So just keep on the lookout for that. Next up, we have our issues list. As issues are, well, problems that can be logged against an order and have costs associated with them. You can create different statuses or types of issues, which make it easier to find them. The statuses are simple placeholder name labels that can be placed into a status field to let you convey info as to whether or not an issue has been resolved or not. And the issue types are just a short list of general pieces of info that are common selectors for trying to categorize information to make it a little easier to search for. Continuing down, we have our job types. In here, you can list your job type with a specific category, and we just supply with a couple of choices for you to utilize. The GLID and item code may be related to your accounting system via export, so do take note when preparing to actually create one of these, as if you have the need to categorize your orders, you may be adding something to your accounting field. Next up, within the postage submenu, there's quite a few options in here, such as post office, mail sort, class, and geography. These all pertain to the data postage tabs within an order, as well as the estimates. And allow you to fill in general information as to how you're going to be preparing to dispatch your ordered material. The postage affix instances are the actual stamps or meters or permits that are utilized when both deciding on actual paid postage and also tracking. What you'll see in here, as far as the GLID column or the INV column, are both, again, what correspond to your accounting program. Any of our columns with a WB correspond to window book. And the general info pieces, such as taxable, description, and name, are just what you'd expect them to be. Do bear in mind that while your postage estimate rates are just that, estimates with actual number values, the postage affixes here never do carry in a specific value. These would be expected to be entered on each job because depending on where you're shipping to, of course, the postage rates may vary. Finally, within the user-defined fields list, we can select and fill out information related to our order and order versions user-defined fields. Our system supports up to 30 per order or 30 per version. As you create an order version UDF, if you have the export function set to yes, then it will automatically create an estimate UDF with the same corresponding label as the order version UDF to allow data to travel back and forth correctly. To utilize the UDF, all you have to do is click the Edit button for the row. Give the UDF a label name. Fill out what type of UDF it is, whether it be, say, a number value, currency, text, or date, which will generate a calendar upon selection. If it happens to be a text value, then you can supply a pre-filled message such as select or pick. And finally, you can determine how many characters are allowed within a particular UDF by filling in the maximum limit here under the field size column. If you have the copy button checked, then this allows you to copy an order and have this value carry through with it. And of course, the active status determines whether or not it's visible. Now we've taken a look at all of our admin level controls. Let's take a look at the orders themselves within the search screen. On the order search screen, by default, your view will only allow you to see open orders. If you need to search for closed orders, you can click the extended search box button. Select your closed orders checkbox, and then click submit to permit that change. This allows you, of course, to see jobs that have been closed and also to sort your data based on close date. You can use the search filters via the general search bar or the extended search to look for various details within jobs, thus cutting the list of what you see here down from the thousands to hundreds or possibly less. The user-defined field 1, 2, and 3 search are not specifically referencing user-defined fields 1, 2, and 3. It is simply a combination of 3 selectable UDFs that you can run searches against. And where on the bottom in the main bar you can search for specific dates, names, or quantities, you can instead utilize the functionality within the extended search to search within date ranges. Finally, all changes that are applied to our search and sort, when applied here, immediately have their sort or filter applied. If you were to apply the choices here in the in the orders extended search menu, you will need to click the submit button to actually make those changes occur. After using these search filters to find any orders in which you're looking for, you can click into that job and then be brought into the screen in which you can begin making your changes, filling out general info, or just printing a report. Alternatively, if you need to get into an order, you can click the recently viewed pop-out here on the left. And in this list, you'll see the 10 most recently accessed orders within your employee record. By this, what I mean is that if you were to switch computers, maybe go home at the end of your day and try to access work from home, or try to access this on a mobile device, your recently viewed list would reference the 10 most recently accessed accounts. So the same list that you had when you left the office in the first place. Finally, you can get into orders from your home page's widgets. If you have a widget that is designed to display orders, such as our Open Orders widget, you can scroll through the list of available open orders and click it to be brought into that job. Now, since we're within an order, you may notice that it looks pretty similar to the estimate screen. Well, a lot of the fields within the estimates and orders do match. General blocks of info, such as the customer, sales rep, and taxable status, are expected to match with, say, our supporting communication back and forth due to being able to copy and export estimates back and forth to orders. Other areas that may seem similar or familiar include the order in which you see the tabs listed down here below. Beyond the Info tab, and up until the Drops tab, every one of these references a service type, which you yourselves categorize your services as being or falling under. The differences in the order compared to the estimate include the Drops tab, which accommodate for multiple different drop dates in which an order could be dispatched. The Postage tab, which allows you to actually apply your specific stamps at their designated price and fill out more general or more specific postage info as necessary. The Data Postage tab, which, while still being pretty similar to what you saw in the estimate screen, has received a huge update, giving you much more availability for options to get everything filled out as you need to. And finally, the Inventory tab, which references hand-added inventory, as well as any inventory pulled in through our print calculator. A few other tabs that are different in here compared to the estimate screen include the Shipping tab, in which you can define both your billing and shipping addresses for a customer, and plug in shipment tracking data if necessary. The info within the Billing and Shipping tab comes from the Customer Accounts Billing and Shipping tab, but if you do change the contact for that particular customer, then your address information may update, depending on what you have listed with that account. Now we also have the Attachments tab, which is pretty similar. The new Proofs tab, which allows you to track proofs against an order. And the Versions tab, which allows you to see all versions within an order. Within the General tab, under the Info subtab, we'll see a few things that don't necessarily stand out as being obvious at first case of what they would be. The version name probably is the most commonly misunderstood feature in here. If you don't use versioning, then the version name has no meaning to you. But in the context of a version user, this effectively means that you have a job within a job, and this job within a job's name is whatever my version name happens to be. The expected quantity and order quantity behavior are exactly what you'd expect them to be. As you change your expected quantity within creating an estimate or an order, then it will fill in some defaults for you and your team as you continue the process. And if you make any changes via the update, then once you click update, you're given the chance to change your pricing logic. And regardless of whether you do or not, your quantities get updated from the expected quantity value to the update quantity value. Version status and version job type are primarily dynamic job board related areas. And the urgency as well is defined within the admin menu's DJB handler to determine the job urgency. Finally, all the values that you see down here, art due, insert proof to customer, etc., are user-defined values that come from the UDF or user-defined fields screen. And finally, the info comments that we see here is different from the details tab's invoice comments, the shipping tab's shipping comments, and any department level comments within their respective tabs. Now, for clarity, after you've created a job, the expected quantity cannot be changed. It can be updated via the update quantity function, but it cannot be changed. And also within the details tab, if you see an expected quantity value here, this specifically relates to the expected quantity across all versions of a job. Next up, we'll also spot the ref number. This ref number is the actual order number. If you have the functionality set up so that way you can adjust orders, then changing the ref number down here will update the order number. The entered by and copied from order, as well as the AR export date, correspond to non-adjustable values that convey information. The entered by lets you know what employee created this particular job. The copied from order updates if the job had been copied from another instance. And the AR export date corresponds to whether or not a job has been exported into your accounting system. Other fields in here, such as job progress, job frequency, leftovers, don't pay as much consequence to the invoice or billing process, but they do matter a lot for the production side. So do make sure to take care of all elements of this tab. Again, if you don't use versioning in your day-to-day activity, then you may almost never come into this tab. That is fine. Just make sure that you do understand that there are some key elements here that don't exist in other places. Within the shipping tab, if you were to select a different contact from your customer's available list, then anything within these available fields will change based on the contact that you select. The ship to and bill to are unique, but they both share the same contact logic, meaning that once you change the contact in one, it may need to be updated in the other. The copy, ship to, and bill to from CRM buttons pull in the address info from their respective category tabs in the estimate or in the order, in the customer account. And if you click the ship to multiple locations or shipment tracking buttons, you'll be brought to a more detailed area in which you can fill out shipping location info down to the country level and shipment tracking info where you can plug in actual tracking numbers from FedEx or UPS. The attachments window behaves almost identically to the estimate screen. All you need to do is select your file, give it a file name, categorize it, and click Save to commit it. Knowing that file sizes themselves can only be at 20 megabytes or less. If we need to create a new order, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can either click the green New Order button from the Order Search screen here. You can create an estimate and then export that estimate to an order. By clicking this green button here. or while within the multi-quantity tab, clicking the export button for one of the quantities listed. Or finally, within the home menu, you can select under the Quick Links dropdown the Add Order button. It is simply a series of ways that all get you to the same goal. Once you've got your job set, if you're building it from scratch, as long as you have a customer selected, then you can do pretty much about everything else you may need to do. Do note that as you fill in dates, such as a due date or ship date, certain triggers may occur. Those being inventory deduction triggers or dynamic job board scheduling update triggers. So do be careful when adding in dates, especially to jobs that have already been created without a date. Now with the tab info that can be related to production can be found in the drops, in which you can list all the dates a batch or a portion of your order is set to go out. You can fill out a due date, a quantity, and whether or not it's been completed. And if you were to close a job, then all open drops for that job will be marked as completed or closed. There is the postage tab in which you can add your different postage affixed instances, such as your permits and stamps. I'll go over this in greater detail during our postage session. There is the data postage tab, which references more detailed information regarding postal info, where the packages are being dispatched from, how many are going, where they're going to, and if there's any expenses or postage payments that have been made against your particular job. Finally, the inventory tab allows you to see all of the items that have been added to your job. You can either click the Add Item button to add them yourself, or if you build an instance within the print calculator, you can pull in inventory from there as well. Now, if you have a job that's been created, has had work logged against it, but you need to mark an issue against it for profitability tracking, you can do so by selecting under the quick links within the job itself, the issue search or issue tracking buttons. Issue search will bring you to the main search screen where all of the issues can be accessed from. If you click issue tracking, you're instead brought to a screen in which you can fill out details on the order that has an issue marked against it. For instance, in this case, we can see my order number, my customer, and my version have already been selected. And from here, I can pick the service and fill out a little bit of basic info about the issue just to make sure everything is being conveyed correctly. You can fill in a quantity, which allows you to keep track of how many goods have been lost due to an issue. You can also fill in a credit amount and issue cost, as well as a definable credit yes or no feature. And this here allows you to more easily track expenses that are associated with any kind of issue. Finally, in here, the VS user account, in this case is my account, and it's the one listed as the enter by. By this, anyone who logs into this issue can see who it is that created it, in this case, me. As you mark your version issues as completed, they will fall off the outstanding board as you go through your day. Now, those issues, when added with a price, can be accessed within our job detail analysis report, as well as display a comparative cost against all the other elements of this order, such as the inventory, the DLC, or any shipping expenses incurred via tracking. Other reports that help in this case include the packing slip, which allow you to just print off a simple cut and foldable sheet to convey information to your clients what they'd expect to receive. One of our many work order reports, which will handle displaying production info as effectively as possible. One of our many invoices to get billing to work the way that you want. And some accounting or audit-based reports, such as our GLID totals by order. Depending on what you're trying to get out of a report, the order may not be the best place to find it. For instance, sales information all comes tied directly from an order, but our sales reports are not accessible within the order. Just so that way we can prevent people from seeing sales information that they're not allowed to see. Now, the final thing I'd like to cover regarding orders is how to access information for the order within the reports menu itself. There are a handful of order reports, such as job costing, production, sales, postage, and accounting-based reports. All of these look at order data, whether it be a sum of line item information, customer info and frequency trackers, etc. And as you enter enough and little bits of more information as you go, or more jobs as you go, your list will become more and more detailed, allowing you to pull up fully built sales reports that track years versus months worth of data, and also give you a little bit more flexibility in terms of being able to interpret and see trends against profitability reports to see how you can improve your operations, business, and invoicing process as a whole. I do have more I can go over for orders. Those will be covered in our various other dedicated sessions. Postage has a more dedicated session going over the process of fund receiving, stamp allocation, and also stamp tracking consumption management. We have more training on the production aspects of order handling, such as including the DJB or dynamic job board in your daily routine, and also monitoring our other views to make sure you maximize potential of what you can do as far as communicate efficiently, what work is still outstanding, and what has been completed. And there's also the shipment module and the accounting export module, both of which handle the extraction of data out of Midnight. Finally, there is a pricing and version handling class I do, and those will cover more information on those respective topics. Unfortunately, all of those do take roughly 45 minutes to an hour, so I can't go over them all today. That said, this concludes today's Midnight 6.3 orders module training. I'll go ahead and take everyone off of mute and open things up for Q&A.